In the eerie quiet of Camp Almar, a seemingly idyllic summer retreat, a sinister secret lies buried beneath layers of carefully constructed normalcy. Marshmallow, 2025, plunges viewers into a chilling narrative where childhood innocence is a meticulously crafted illusion and the idyllic setting masks a horrifying truth. The film opens with Morgan, a new camper struggling to fit in, facing the casual cruelty of other teenagers and the deep-seated trauma of a recent family loss. His initial reluctance to attend camp, a place his grandfather enthusiastically championed before his sudden collapse, hints at an unsettling undercurrent. As Morgan navigates the typical rites of passage at summer camp, from awkward introductions to campfire stories, the unsettling nature of Camp Almar slowly begins to unravel. A seemingly harmless ghost story about the doctor, a madman who mutilated and reassembled bodies, takes on a chilling new dimension when bizarre occurrences plague the camp. Fellow campers vanish and unexplained injuries and erratic behavior among the counselors sow seeds of dread. The once comforting presence of camp authority figures morphs into a source of suspicion and fear as Morgan uncovers disturbing truths about the camp's true purpose and the very nature of its occupants. Marshmallow, 2025, masterfully blends psychological suspense with body horror, questioning the boundaries of humanity and the terrifying lengths to which grief and technology can distort reality. The movie opens with a group of teenagers playing basketball. One of them, Jason, bullies another boy, Josh, calling him names. A new kid, Morgan, tries to join in but is quickly dismissed and ridiculed by the group, who tell him to have fun in Dorkland. The scene shifts to Morgan at home with his parents and grandfather Roy. His mother expresses hope that a recent move will be good for him, and his grandfather enthusiastically talks about summer camp where he met his wife. Morgan, however, is clearly unenthused about being sent to camp against his will. Roy gives Morgan a badass pocket knife, telling him that sometimes the best adventures are unplanned. Suddenly, Roy collapses at the dinner table, causing panic. The family calls for help, and a tense sequence follows with distorted voices and frantic activity, culminating in Morgan screaming. The next scene is Roy's funeral, a somber affair with church bells chiming. Afterwards, Morgan's mother reminds him to tell his counselors if he has trouble sleeping and to go easy on sugar to avoid nightmares. His father mentions that his co-worker's son CJ will be his roommate at camp. Morgan expresses his dislike for CJ, calling him a dick, but his father dismisses it, having only met the boy once. His parents assure him that camp will be good for him. At Camp Almar, counselors are preparing for the campers' arrival. Rachel, seemingly in charge, is frustrated with the slow pace. Avery and Casswar, two male counselors, are joking around and smoking. Casswar flirts with Rachel, who is annoyed by his antics and tells him to put on a shirt. Franklin, another counselor, enters and Casswar makes a sarcastic comment about him being the fun police. Collins, the camp director, then appears, chastising Casswar for his behavior and telling him to clean the bathrooms. Campers arrive and Franklin directs them. Morgan's mother points out fun activities like the climbing wall, trying to uplift his spirits. Morgan checks in with Rachel, who gives him a lanyard for camp access, playfully warning him not to lose it or he'll be sleeping with the fishes. Morgan says goodbye to his mother, who gives him a heartfelt hug and tells him to be safe, brave, and to behave, promising it will be the best summer ever. Morgan heads to his cabin where he encounters CJ, who is abrasive from the start. Franklin blows his whistle, gathering all campers for a welcome orientation by the lake. Casswar addresses the campers, calling them little monsters and freaks, and singles out a camper named Doink, confiscating his phone and mocking him. Morgan meets Pilar, who introduces herself and advises him to stay quiet to avoid trouble with Casswar. Hugh Collins, the camp director, formally welcomes everyone, explaining that he handles disciplinary measures. He makes a light-hearted joke about seeing him only when infirmed or in trouble. He then announces the swim test. During the test, Morgan admits he can't swim, which earns him ridicule from CJ and other campers. Collins intervenes, scolding Corbin, implied to be the main instigator, for bullying and threatening him with toilet cleaning duty. Later, around a campfire, campers are looking for entertainment. Rachel volunteers to tell a scary story about the doctor. She recounts how a doctor who appeared to be performing life-saving surgeries by day was secretly mutilating people and creating monsters in his basement at his summer home. His wife, discovering his horrific secret, tried to flee but was caught. The doctor then sewed his wife and two children together into one happy family forever. Rachel dramatically concludes that the camp was built on the site of the doctor's cabin and that his spirit now wanders the woods searching for his work and family. The story scares some campers, but Casswar, who seems to know the story, jokingly scares them further. After the campfire, Morgan and Pilar walk back to their cabins. Morgan asks Pilar if she believes the story. Pilar dismisses it as a fabricated tale to enforce curfew, noting she's heard multiple versions. They part ways and Morgan returns to his cabin. Alone, Morgan hears strange noises like water trickling and gurgling and indistinct, distorted voices. He sees a shadowy figure in his cabin and screams for help. Rachel and the other counselors respond, but only Rachel seems to take Morgan seriously. Morgan insists he saw someone, but Rachel, knowing his history of nightmares, suggests it was just a bad dream. The other counselors dismiss it as a result of the scary story. Franklin walks Morgan back to his cabin, assuring him that Camp Almar is a safe place and that he's just had a rough day. The next day, Morgan meets Pilar again. She's reading and they discuss books, agreeing to go on a reading date outing. As they talk, CJ appears seemingly different, more subdued. He apologizes to Morgan for their bad start and suggests they reset. CJ proposes they do something they've been putting off, specifically Morgan's swim test. Reluctantly, Morgan agrees. At the lake, CJ brutally attacks Morgan, repeatedly holding his head underwater and trying to drown him. Counselors intervene, pulling CJ off Morgan. Morgan is pulled out of the water coughing and sobbing. Later, Morgan is offered hot cocoa. He's still shaken by the incident, but Franklin assures him that CJ will be dealt with and that things are gonna shape up. That night, Morgan has another terrifying nightmare. He sees his grandfather Roy, who appears distorted and maniacal, repeatedly saying, "I get to see you now." Morgan screams for help and runs through the woods, seemingly pursued by Roy's laughter and distorted voices. The dream ends with Morgan screaming as the faint sounds of classical music and metallic grinding are heard before he wakes up to the sound of his own screams. He then discovers CJ's mutilated body. The movie ends with Morgan's terrified screams for help. The scene picks up immediately after Morgan discovers CJ's mutilated body. He desperately tries to wake his cabin mates Dirk and Raj, screaming that the doctor is real and that CJ was in an operating room with blood everywhere. Raj, tired of Morgan's perceived antics, dismisses him. Suddenly a taser crackles and unseen figures attack the cabin. The boys scream and a chaotic chase ensues as they flee. Outside, the camp is in disarray. Counselors yell "Code Bronco Butler," indicating an emergency, and urge all campers to report to the mess hall. Morgan, Dirk, and Raj run through the woods with Morgan insisting they need to find Pilar. Dirk is hesitant, wanting to save his girlfriend first. They hear distant screams and taser crackles, realizing the danger is widespread. They eventually find Pilar, who is initially skeptical of Morgan's claims about the doctor being real, thinking it's just another one of his sleepwalking incidents. However, the sounds of taser crackling and Caroline's screams from outside quickly convince them of the real threat. They hide, trying to decide their next move. Sam suggests swimming across the lake, but Morgan, who has a traumatic past with water, refuses. He recounts how he nearly drowned as a child and was saved by his grandpa Roy, explaining his fear and his reluctance to hold them back. Despite this, his friends assure him they will stick together. As they hide, they hear someone approaching and recognize Caswar's voice. He discovers Sam, who screams as he's dragged away. Morgan, Pilar, and Dirk manage to escape, getting into a boat and pushing off from the dock as Caswar rages in frustration. Meanwhile, other counselors are trying to contain the panicked campers in the mess hall. Rachel tries to reassure them, but the fear is palpable. Caroline, separated from the group, is also being pursued and screams for help. She encounters Franklin, who tells her to run and he'll buy her some time. Morgan, Pilar, and Dirk break into Colin's office, hoping to find a phone to call for help. The phone only plays a pre-recorded message about compulsion aggressive behavior problem contained, revealing a deeper disturbing reality about the camp. Caswar enters the office, still enraged from the boat incident, and confronts Dirk. A fight breaks out and Dirk manages to knock out Caswar with a heavy object. Suddenly, police sirens are heard and a deputy arrives, tasering the remaining doctor figures. Rachel and Lori are seen together, with Rachel sporting injuries. They discuss their rollback protocol, indicating a memory wipe is imminent. They confirm that some campers are still unaccounted for. Rachel admits that the ruse has been problematic, revealing that the cocoa is meant to sedate the campers for operations but doesn't incapacitate them entirely. She and Collins argue about the effectiveness of their methods. Back in Collins' office, he reveals the shocking truth to Morgan and Pilar: they are not human. He explains that Morgan Davis died last year and that Morgan, as he knows himself, is merely an approximation of what the real Morgan could have been. He reveals that they are part of a program designed to alleviate every parent's worst nightmare by creating artificial children. He explains that the operations are necessary for their growth, as they don't grow naturally. The doctor story was a fabrication to keep them in their bunks during these procedures, and the masks the doctor figures wear translate their words into an undecipherable frequency to prevent the campers from understanding what's happening. Franklin, who appears to be an ally, explains that the engineers will perform a rollback to wipe the last hours from their memories, making them forget everything that happened. He tells them that their friends will wake up with stiff limbs but will otherwise be fine, unaware of the truth. He gives Morgan and Pilar a choice: forget everything or have a say in what comes next. The movie then shows a montage of daily camp life set to What a Wonderful World. Campers are eating and going about their activities seemingly back to normal. Morgan and Pilar are seen, and a brief interaction with Dirk suggests they might remember something. When asked about his injuries, Dirk mentions a hiking accident and Pilar jokingly adds, "You sure it wasn't a boating accident?" The final scene takes place in Colin's office, where he's on a video call with a man named Sal. Sal reveals a larger crisis: dozens of malfunction reports like CJ's have been received from every goddamn camp on the grid. He explains that the algorithms of these kids are exhibiting an alarming deviation from the program and they are becoming hostile. Sal warns Collins that his neck is on the line until they figure out the systemic issue. As Sal continues to speak, Collins is shown looking concerned, and the scene ends with the chilling implication that the manufactured children are becoming self-aware and dangerous. If you enjoy watching this video, then subscribe to Angel Recaps for the latest movies explanation.